Hey everybody, welcome back to the Relentless Sportsman channel. I've been thinking lately, what can I share with my viewers that I've never done before? Something unique to this channel. And I'm thinking, a lot of my viewers deer hunt. It is the off season currently. So what do we do for deer hunting in the off season? We can scout, we can plan, we can purchase gear for next year. There's a lot of things you can do. But what I thought I would do is I would share with you all how I cook my deer steak to taste just like beef, or in my opinion, even better. So I've got this fire pit in my backyard, and it looks terrible now because I had to break it apart a little bit as a wind guard. It's a really windy day. Get some nice coals underneath. I mean, I can feel it's really hot now. If I put the skillet on there, I think I'd have some good luck, but I think I'm gonna let it cook down a little bit, get a flatter cooking surface, so when I put the skillet on, we're ready to go. Okay, so here's what you need to do. If I were you, I would take your meat out, your venison steak or whatever you're using. Venison chops work too. About an hour before you're ready to cook them. Meat always cooks better at room temperature. It doesn't matter what you're cooking with. The second thing you should do is season it right away, so the seasoning is on the meat. You can even do this the day before if you want. The third thing you want to do after you let it sit there for an hour is get some olive oil and butter in a pan and just let it sit out for a little while. I just put it right in the pan right before I start cooking. I get it ready so that when I want to cook, everything's ready. I'm not messing around with that. In the meantime, if you want to cook with a vegetable or some type of other food like onions or mushrooms, like I'm going to do today, I'm going to use onions. You want to have that sliced and all prepared before you actually cook it. Now, the seasoning you use for your venison, that's up to you. I like to use different types of steak seasoning. I just go in the store and I try different things every time. I don't think I've bought the same steak seasoning once in my life. I'm always going and trying different things. Lots of people like Lowry's, that's a decent one, just if you're not sure what to get. Dash makes a couple of different good ones. McCormick, of course, that's a big brand for seasoning. I just use whatever I find. I kind of just try different things out. So use what you want. It's up to you, 100%. You know, the basic things you need. You need a pan, butter and olive oil. I like using both together. That way the butter doesn't burn. I've got my onions prepared. That I'm going to cook first and set aside in this container while the venison right here is cooking. Let's get this on the fire and see how hot we can get it. If we can't get it hot enough, we're going to have to keep adding some wood and getting some really nice hot coals going. But let's try. I'm going to put you on the chesty. We'll see how this is going to turn out. All right, so this is going to be some rustic cooking today. I apologize in advance if you hear any wind or anything. It's really not the best day for doing this. I picked today because it's the warmest day this year. And it ended up being so windy. But then once I got this fire started, I thought, we'll just keep her going. What I'm trying to do here is create a relatively flat spot. So you're going to want to put the butter and the oil in together. I think I've got a flat spot here where I can start cooking down a little bit. Whew, smoky. This wind is going to be tough. Hopefully we can get that nice and high. I can see the butter melting already. That's a good sign. Once that gets real hot, I'm going to put the onions in, cook those down, and then we'll get started on the venison. So I don't know if you can hear that, but it's already starting to bubble and pop a little bit. That tells you how hot this pan is getting. All right, that's perfect. Let's put the onions in. Get those going. Oh, those are cooking real nice. About 24 inches away from that pan, it's really hot. So I've had this meat now sitting in the seasoning salt for a good, I would say 2 or 3 hours ready to go before we put it in the pan. So these are pretty much done. They're wilted down. There's a lot of extra oil in there. Good amount of butter still. I use the same kind for the meat. I'm going to put this in that pan to keep it warm. Notice I put the pan next to this so that it's not cold and the onions can sit and stay warm while the meat's cooking, and then eventually it's all going to go in there. Okay, so now that I have the pan there, there's still a good amount of butter and oil in there. I'm going to let that get real nice and hot still by leaving it on the coals. Got the onions still over there, probably staying nice and warm inside that container. Let's get the venison going in there. What you should hear is a nice sizzle when you put down that first piece. So I'm going to start with the biggest piece, which is this one right here. Hear that? That sizzle? And then this one, just drop her right in there. That sounds great. Put that there. This one there, look at that. Beautiful. These are only going to cook for like 45 seconds on one side before you flip them over. You've got to be careful. You can't walk away and go do something quick. You've got to really watch what you're doing when you're cooking venison this hot. You see them cooking real nice over there. It's been about 45 seconds since I put in this big piece there. You can see. All right, let's give this a flip. Check this out. Real nice. That first piece looked great. I'm going to take the next piece I put in there, which is this one, and this one, and that one, and that one. There we go. This is going to be done in no time now. One thing you want to do too, if you're on an uneven surface like this, get this moving around a little bit so that the oil and the butter gets on the other pieces when you're cooking them like that. This will be done in about 20 seconds now. I flipped it just about maybe 15 seconds ago. You can always put it back on if you cut into it and it's a little too red for your liking. And all we're going to do is we're going to add it to the onions and put it in that same container. And there you go. You've got the onions underneath. You've got this meat on top. We're going to cover it up and let it rest for about 4, maybe 5 minutes. This is going to be good. So a couple things to keep in mind. When you are doing this and you have to rest your meat, you've got to rest your meat for about 5 minutes. That's why it's sitting in there. It's staying warm with my onions or whatever you decide to cook it with, asparagus, mushrooms, whatever. And when it's in there, the temperature is going to rise slightly because there's a lot of heat going on in there. It's still going to cook a little bit, which is why I take it off the grill, the stove, or that fire like you saw a little bit earlier than you'd think. As you can see there, it's got a nice crust on it, sitting on a bed of onions. All this right there, that's just olive oil. That's not grease. That's all olive oil. It's good for you. I like to start with the biggest piece first, which is probably this one right here. Maybe a little pile of onions next to it. You can never have enough onions. Look at that. Caramelized onions. Beautiful. Set that down. Put that over there. I mean, look at that. Beautiful. Looks like it's from a magazine. All you need is some little green stuff over here to make it look nice. This is a good meal. And the best part is, in my opinion, I shot this deer right over there. Not very far from where we're sitting right now. I'm going to cut into this. Look at that. Look at that. Pink in the center like that. Beautiful. I'm convinced that if I were to cook this for somebody and not tell them that it was venison, just tell them it was sirloin or something, blindfold them maybe, I guess you wouldn't even have to do that, ask them what it was, they would say, yeah, that's sirloin steak. Have a cold one, enjoy time outside, cooking outside with the deer I shot right over there. Keep it simple, cook them fast, get them nice and hot, don't overcook them. Now on this channel I teach people how to hunt, how to use certain gear, what gear to use, what gear not to use, how to fish, strategies, all that. So if you like these cooking videos, if you want to learn more about cooking wild game, that includes trout, ducks, deer, whatever, walleye, northern, if you want to learn more about that stuff, click that subscribe button. Let me know in the comments if you appreciate videos like this. It's a different perspective. It's a different way to do things, but I think it shows people there's more than one way to skin a cat. Stay tuned for the next episode. See you later.